Hello, everybody. It's a great honor to stand here today on this digital stage. And I got interested in communication in school because I was so bad at it. I was that person who, every time I would give a lecture or a presentation at school, I would feel so nervous. My legs would shake and I would feel this dry tongue, and I just hated to do exactly this. I remember one time I was giving this presentation in front of the class, and some people started to laugh. And I was so embarrassed, so I just ran out of that classroom. And if anybody would have came up to me at that very moment when I ran out of that classroom, telling myself, never again will I have a presentation in my life, if anyone would have told me at that specific moment that, Jonathan, it's okay. One day you will win the Swedish Championship of Public Speaking. You will give lectures in Europe. You will do TED Talks, and you will coach some of the most extraordinary speakers in this world. I would just have laughed, because that would felt like I would never have that kind of life. But here I am today, giving a speech beside some of the greatest speakers in the world, and I'm very, very proud over my journey, and I'm very proud of all the results I have created in my clients, and it's a true honor to stand here today and to give you a message. I run one of Sweden's largest podcasts when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I have the privilege to interview now 110 speakers, coaches, and educators in Sweden, but also international. I interviewed Jarek Robbins, Sharon Lechter, Kane, and so many of the speakers at this event I have actually interviewed in my own podcast. And I had this question like, what can you tell, Jonathan? Can you see patterns? Can you see patterns of things that actually separates them from these trainers and coaches and speakers who have massive success compared to those who don't? And I thought about it and I felt, yes, I can actually do that. There are some key elements I have noticed after all this time, all this research, interviews, all this work. I want to put on this talk the 3 most important things from all these interviews, as you can implement as a speaker, as a coach, as an educator, or as an entrepreneur, actually. And the first thing I've noticed is the speakers and trainers and coaches and educators, they are who have success. They are really good when it comes to clarifying their products. And what do I mean by that? Well, for example, 2018, if I were at a party and if anyone asked me, Jonathan, what do you do? And I could say, well, I coach people, I guide people on Kilimanjaro, I'm a mountain guide, I do film, I produce films, and I write. And I had so many products, so people were confused. And I was confused every time I had to answer that question, because I had so many products. I couldn't really explain which product is my main product. So people got confused, I was confused. And it was very difficult to write a web page. It was very difficult to create a funnel when I had so many different products in so many different areas. And when it comes to the most successful speakers and coaches, they usually have few products, but really strong products. And what do I mean with a product? That can be like Kane's Sprint AI program. That can be Tony Robbins' UPW. If we look at UPW, Tony Robbins has done that for decades. And imagine how strong that product is. I've done it myself. It's 4 days and He's been tweaking and tweaking and tweaking this product for decades, and it's very hard to compete with a product like that. And it's just massive. And some people in Sweden, they spend like 6 months reading books, and after that they go out and they launch their products. But it's very hard to compete with these kind of products that people have worked so hard on for so many years, just tweaking the details. So you want few products, and you want to clarify your products, and you want strong products, and you want products that fits the market right now. So when I thought about that, I figured, what would be a great product for my life right now? Well, I have 2 small kids, so I don't want to travel the way I did before. I want to work at home in this studio, and I would like to impact other speakers and coaches. So I created a 6 weeks program to help coaches and speakers clarify their products and to help them in business. And when I started to market this product, it was so easy to just focus on one product, just to sell one product. My life just instantly, I knew how to write a web page. I knew how to create a funnel. I could work with one product. And I've been doing that product now for 4 years. And exactly like Tony did, I've been tweaking and tweaking and tweaking the same product. So that's my first like main thing. When I interviewed speakers and coaches, the one who succeeds usually have few and very strong products. And that's my first message to you. Think about what kind of products do you actually offer. I mean, I met speakers and coaches, they have hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, but they have zero income. And I can ask them, what's your main product? And they can't really answer that question because they are confused. They want clients, but if you are confused with your product, it's going to be very hard for your followers to understand what you actually are selling to them. So this is massively important. Most focus on marketing and on sales, but I would say focus on your product. Spend time with your products. Take time for your products and clarify your product and make your products really, really strong. What can you add to your product that actually add a persona of yourself to that product? I could probably speak products all my session today. I just love products. That's one of the main things I actually focus mostly on during the last couple of years. So that's my first like big takeaway from my guests as well. The one who are successful have very, very clear and clarified products. So that's my first one. My second one is the coaches and speakers that I interviewed who are really successful. They have like integrated their mindset in their products. So it's like a direct link there. They love their products. I mean, I interviewed Andreas Ögren. He's one of the most successful personal trainers in Sweden. He actually coached like 40 professional hockey players in the NHL. So he's very inspiring. And I asked him, how much time do you spend with your product? And he said, Jonathan, I wake up 5 every single morning. And I always have a new book. And I just read about muscles and tissues. And I just absolutely love it, Jonathan. This is my main passion in life. So I study my products for 2 hours minimum every single day. And I've done this for decades. And I usually tell my clients, like, if you don't have that burning desire, that burning intensity of motivation towards your products, you usually have the wrong products. And that was the reason why I started the Million podcast for speakers and coaches and educators who wants to learn how to do business and to make a living for themselves. I mean, these were conversations I had anyway. every time I was driving to Stockholm or down in Europe, I always had these conversations with speakers and coaches, and we spoke about business, about marketing, about sales, and I was just so interested in this like area of entrepreneurship, especially for speakers and coaches. So this has always been my main motivation to learn more about other speakers and coaches, but also for myself, have as much knowledge as I possibly can so I can give it to others. So there needs to be this burning desire to want your subject, your product, there needs to be in line. I had one client at one of my courses, and she said, yeah, I'm gonna do a leadership course, and I usually get very good referrals and people love my courses, but you could kind of see in her eyes, there's something else here. It's not that connection I'm looking for. And after a while in my course, she called me up and she said, I found something else. It's completely different, but this is what I want. I want to do this and this and this and this. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that click. To that click, when you look at the product, you almost look at the same way as you look at your best friend or your partner. There needs to be love between your own mindset and your product. There needs to be a direct link there, because if you don't have that, it's going to be hard to compete. I mean, when I interviewed Jairek Robbins, you could see in his eyes, he loves health. He loves personal development. When I interviewed Sharon Lechter, I mean, wow, what a woman. I mean, and she probably doesn't have to work, but she do it anyway because she loves to give knowledge about financial education to the world. And she's probably gonna do that her entire life. And you can just tell in her eyes, there's a direct link there between her mindset and her products. When I interviewed Louis, who's also a great speaker and he's speaking at this event, you could tell he loves trading. He loves his subject and he loves to teach. He loves to share knowledge. And I actually get goosebumps from talking about this, because it's so clear. The people who are successful in entrepreneurship, they love their products so much and they take care of them and they study them and they work, they improve, they talk. I mean, I had my dear friend Sibbe Sylvén here today. He's one of Europe's best speakers when it comes to artificial intelligence. And we had dinner last week and I thought maybe we should chill, maybe we should just eat food and talk about the weather, or maybe we should talk about something else, not always talk business and our subjects. But Sibbe started to talk about AI, and 3 hours later, you could see in his eyes, this is the only thing he wants to talk about, and this is probably what makes him so successful. And he has so cool products, and there's like, wherever he goes, he talks about his product because it comes from the inside and out for him. And it's so inspiring to see speakers and coaches and educators who has that. So what do you speak about when no one else sees you, when the cameras is off? What do you think about? What do you speak about? And if that's not your product, you probably needs to find something else, because this can't be done with willpower, because you will face people like Andreas Ögren, who goes up at 5 and study and absorb his subject all the time. So you want a direct link from the mindset to your product. And that's my second one to you. And the third one is, many speakers and educators and coaches, they don't really know how to do marketing for their products. And they post on LinkedIn, they post TikTok, and they give value, and they start a podcast. And it's just very confusing, because usually that is because they are not clarified in their products. But when I learned this from my guest and I started to build a wheel for speakers and coaches and educators. I call it the million wheel. And it's all about having the synergy with the product and the mindset and the marketing and the sales. So everything is connected. So before, I will never forget, I was at this casting for a big television show in Sweden. I was supposed to do a world record in scuba diving, swimming 10 kilometers underwater. And I thought, if I do this, I will have a lot of marketing. And that will lead to a lot of clients. That was my idea. And that was my why, to spend 6 months training for this specific event. And around 1 million Swedes would watch this on television. I would not recommend swimming 10 kilometers underwater to anyone. It was one of the hardest projects of my life. And it was cold. It was in Sweden in October. And it was brutal. I will never forget when I jumped in the water. The camera crew was there and the waves was coming in. The weather was turning bad. And I thought to myself, I've done 80 dives and I failed with every dive I've done. And the odds of me succeeding with this one is nearly 0. And still, towards this day, I have no idea how I actually pulled it off. I ended up in some form of flow and I started to swim. And 5 hours and 48 minutes, I had succeeded to swim 10 kilometers underwater. And it was like added out there on television, 1 million saw it. And I had 0 clients, 0 talks, nothing. Because the marketing bit was about me as a diver, but I wanted clients as a speaker in rhetorics. So there was no connection there at all with my products and what I did in the marketing. And that was one of the biggest wake-up calls in my life when I realized it's not just about marketing. You need to market in a synergy with your products. And if you don't do that, you can't expect to have clients if there is no synergy between the marketing and the product. So when it comes to me, I built the Million course, a 6 weeks course for coaches and speakers. And what can I do to market that one? What can I do to market that course in Sweden? Well, I can have a podcast talking with other speakers and educators, and I can discuss business, and people will listen to episodes after episode. And my plan was that if they hear me speak about business week after week after week, they will realize that Jonathan has a lot of knowledge when it comes to business for educators, speakers, and coaches. He knows a lot, and every week he's like growing and expanding his knowledge. So my podcast has actually been my best sales machine I've ever built in my entire life. I have sold for millions with my own podcast because there is a direct link with my podcast, with my product, and with my podcast. And so that's definitely the key factor number 3. You want to market with synergy with your products, and you need to market with your strength. Because one coach told me you need to be on LinkedIn. But I mean, I found it quite difficult to write. I had a lot of problems with that in school. My strength has not always been, but I developed it, I've trained it, I constructed it. So my strength today is my communication. So it's my voice, it's the way I can reach people. And I realize that can be used in a podcast format because that's in synergy with my products, but also my strengths. So that's important for you as well. Otherwise it will drain you. So you need to find something in the marketing that supports your strength and supports your products. And there you go. You have better clarified products, who is in direct line with your mindset, who is in direct line with your marketing. And I still have some time to go, so I'll give you a fourth one. And the fourth one is to be very, very clear about how are you going to sell your products. I mean, are you going to sell your products through mastermind courses or sales calls? I love to take sales meeting. That's one of my favorite things to start the day with, actually. Usually I tell my coordinator to book me calls in the beginning of the day because it energized me so much. So I want the podcast to give me a lot of leads who I can have conversations with, and I can sell my product in these conversations. But usually if you only focus on too much marketing and too much value with no CTA, with no clear action of how are you going to turn these leads to paying customers, it's going to be tricky for your business. So you want to clarify that for the first. Some of the people I interviewed in my podcast, they sell through only text. They sell through like email, and some sales for conversations. And I like sales conversations, sales calls. But it's very important for you to clarify that, so that can be also in the direct line with your marketing. So when you have all these four in one go, then you have the synergy in your wheel, and your business is going to be so much easier. And it doesn't, even if you are an entrepreneur listening to this, you don't have to be an educator or coach or speaker. I mean, this is entrepreneurship as well. I interviewed Tobias Gren. He's one of the most successful coaches for brokers in Sweden. And like, his wheel is so intact. I mean, his product, he's one-to-one coach, so he coaches brokers, and he has a lot of experience doing this from his old jobs. And I mean, he loves this. Every time he talks about the business, about the niche, about other brokers, you could see in his eyes, like, yeah, there is a direct link between his product and his mindset. And if you look at his marketing, he actually started his own podcast for brokers, and it has become one of the biggest podcasts in Sweden. And after that, he can sell his products in that podcast, and it's just a completely beautiful wheel that Tobias has. And again, every time I've interviewed someone in my podcast that actually have tremendous success, they usually have the synergy. They have a clear synergy between product, mindset, marketing, and sales. And that is really what I want to give you today. I don't have time to go like super deep in every area, but I want you to think about, is my product clear? Do I have too many products, or do I need to pick maybe a few ones? Is my mindset really in line with the product, or is there something else maybe for you that you haven't seen yet? Do you have a clear marketing plan that is in line with your product? Is there a connection there? If not, well, you need to do some adjustments. Or do you have a clear plan for having the marketing leads to leads that you can sell? So you want a full circle of the wheel. And I've done this course now in Sweden for 4 years, where I help people create a synergy in their wheel. This is like, I have not seen any other speakers and coach talk exactly about the synergy with the wheel. And I'm very excited to have done this in Sweden now for 4 years, and the results has been like crazy huge. And in Sweden, I'm actually one of the most expensive coaches, but my dream has always been to go international. I mean, I got a taste of it. When Kane showed me his village in South America, I just felt, well, if he can do it, maybe I can do it. So, I mean, I'm standing here, and soon I feel I will take the first steps to the international market, but I will love to do a pilot. a pilot course on English, and that would be my first time delivering a full course on English. So if there is anyone interested in this course and to have a synergy in your wheel, please click to this link and there you can reach out to me. And if I have some people who's interested in this, I will give you the deal of your lifetime. And I will give you my blood, sweat and tears, and I will succeed with creating a synergy in your wheel, because when you do something for the first time, when you from Swedish to English, I mean, I can't leave you without succeeding. So I'm very excited to share more of my content international. Today has been huge for me, and I thank Daniel especially for giving me this opportunity to stand here and to speak English. I mean, in school I couldn't barely say my name, and I can't believe I've done an entire lecture today on English. But I'm just excited, I'm curious, and one of my main and biggest mission in life is also to create one of the biggest event ever done in the history of coaching and speaking. I want to create the biggest event in the world for speakers and coaches. And last year we did it in Sweden. It was one of the biggest shows in Sweden for speakers and coaches. And this year we're doing it in Sweden again. But the year after that, I'm so ready for the international market. Have a great continued event, and love from me to you. Thank you very much. Have a good one.